So then we ended up flying out of Volk Field in Wisconsin. We flew on C-141 with our vehicles. We had 2 5-tons, 2 or 3 1008, 1009 pickups, and I can't remember if we had one plane, I'm pretty sure. But we flew on the red net seats, so we absolutely had no creature comforts of a 747 or anything like that. And flying with our equipment, it was so cold in there and so loud. And we refueled in Spain. So that was probably our last good meal that we had for quite some time. We got to go eat at the dining facility there at an air base. And then we went over, landed at the civilian airport there, Daharan, I believe. That was something. We got there in the middle of the night, and I can remember being so scared. And it's just like we had no idea what we were in for. We were just a bunch of kids. We still had our woodland camo. We left so fast we didn't even have time to get our desert camo or anything. So we had all woodland stuff. We were ill prepared. We didn't bring any winter equipment with us as far as like a parka or anything, thinking, hello, we're going to the desert. I don't think anybody was really ready for that. We just were not equipped to be there with some of our, like just our clothing. So eventually we ended up getting issued the desert camo, and that made it a lot better. But I'll never forget that first day we were there, we were just trying to find shade anywhere. And we were very fortunate because we had our own vehicles. So there's people just laying everywhere in the sand. They don't have any place to take us. They had set up Cement City, which was a tent housing place, sort of just a bunch of huge tents. But we had a lot of our own stuff because our 5 tons were loaded with stuff. So we had tents, and we brought 2 tents. So we had that. We had our 2 5 tons, and then we had the 3 pickup trucks. So we had our own transportation, where a lot of companies didn't have that, or units, because all their stuff had been put on ships and was coming over, and it would take a minimum 30 days, depending on how long. So we were fortunate to have our vehicles. So that made us a little more self-sufficient. We were kind of laying under those in the shade, and there was this Air Force lady, and she came over to us and she said, well, do you guys want to come in our tent? And we're thinking, hello, it's like 180 degrees. I mean, it was like 130 degrees then. But why would we want to go inside a tent? It's going to be hot. Well, she opened the door, and there was this big gush of cold air. And we were like, what is that? That is the first time I ever saw an air-conditioned tent. It was an Air Force tent, and it was air-conditioned, and I was just like, wow. So it was pretty cool. But then we ended up, our sergeant that was in charge of us, Lowell Benson, he was very resourceful. He found jobs for us, so we didn't have to stay at Cement City, which was absolutely awful. There was so many people packed in there, and we ate, what do they call them? Tea rations, I think they were called. Basically green eggs and ham kind of stuff, and it was just nasty. So we ate that and MREs, but he found us a couple other water companies, and he and some other people, they organized this training plan. And so for the first 30 days after we got there, we ended up going out to the Gulf, and we sat up at Half Moon Bay, and we learned how, because we weren't water purifiers, so we'd never used the ropios before, but we learned how to purify water. So they set up this whole training mission, and then he found us a job somewhere else. So we packed up our 5 tons and headed out, and went out to, our first place was at Camp Pulaski, which was pretty much in the middle of Saudi Arabia. It's kind of a staging point. So we were out in the middle of nowhere, and we provided water for anybody who was there. There was well drillers. There was all kinds of units that would come in and get water from us at that point. And then the day before the air war started, they started moving us towards the border. So then we went to KKMC, King Khalid Military City, and we were there just not very long. We knew we were attached to the 18th Airborne Corps, and then we ended up heading north. So the day that they were started bombing, we were already on our way up towards the border.